Chapter 3 Nationalism in India. In this chapter, we will learn growth of nationalism, the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, differing strands within the movement towards civil disobedience, the sense of collective belonging, growth of nationalism. Modern nationalism in Europe led to the formation of nation states, sense of belonging, new symbols and icons, new songs also redefined the boundaries of communities. In India, nationalism was connected to the anti-colonial movement and struggle against colonialism. Unity among people and their shared bonding could be seen due to colonialism. This chapter will tell us about nationalism in India after 1920, the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation movement. After 1990, the national movement spread in new areas, including new social groups and new modes of struggle. The war created new economic and political situations. Due to increase in defense expenditure, custom duties were raised, income tax was started, prices were doubled between 1913 and 1918. Villagers were recruited to military, causing anger in them. There was acute shortage of food due to crop failure and influenza death. People hoped that their hardship would end after the war, but that did not happen, and it led to a new mode of struggle by new leaders. The idea of Satyagraha. By this time, Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa, and as we all know that there he had successfully fought the racist regime through mass agitation, which he called Satyagraha. Satyagraha movement was started by Mahatma Gandhi in January 1950 at various places. Satyagraha means following the path of truth and non-violence to attain freedom and fight against injustice. As it is believed that if the cause was true and the struggle was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. A Satyagraha could win the battle through non-violence. Satyagraha movement was started in various places by Mahatma Gandhi. In 1916, he started the movement in Champaran, Bihar, to inspire the peasants to struggle against the oppressive plantation system. In 1917, Satyagraha was started at Kheda district, Gujarat, and in 1918, it was started at Ahmedabad amongst cotton mill workers. The Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act was passed in 1919, which gave enormous powers to government to repress political activities and put the prisoners behind the bars without trial for 2 years. Mahatma Gandhi launched a nationwide Satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act, started with a hartal on 6th of April. Workers went on strike, shops were closed down and rallies were organized against Rowlatt Act. The British administration decided to clamp down on nationalists. On 10th April, police fired on people in Amritsar in a procession which took widespread agitation against the Britishers. Due to this, martial law was imposed and General Dyer took the command. On 13th April, Jallianwala Bagh incident took place under the leadership of General Dyer. This incident converted the non-violent civil disobedience movement into violent activities. Thus, Mahatma Gandhi called off the movement and decided to launch a more broad-based movement in India, which he knew was possible by bringing the Hindu and Muslim closer together. With the defeat of Ottoman Turkey after the First World War, it was presumed that harsh peace treaty will be imposed on Ottoman Emperor. Khilafat Committee was formed in Bombay in March 1919, under which Muslim brothers Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali began discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the mass united action against the Britishers. Thus, a non-cooperation movement was started in support of Khilafat as well as for Swaraj at the Calcutta session of the Congress in September 1920. Have you ever thought of that why non-cooperation? Mahatma Gandhi in his famous book Swaraj has said that the British rule could survive only because of cooperation of Indians, and Swaraj can be obtained by non-cooperating Britishers. Thus, he launched non-cooperation movement in December 1920, in which he asked the Indians to surrender titles, boycott civil services and foreign goods. Different strands within the movement. The non-cooperation Khilafat movement began in January 1921. All the social groups responded to the call of Swaraj. The movement in the town. Middle class people participated in the movement through the following ways. Thousands of students left government-controlled schools and colleges. Headmasters and teachers resigned from their posts. Lawyers gave up their legal practices. Liquor shops were picketed. Foreign clothes were burned. With this, now let us discuss about the effects of non-cooperation movement. By 1921 and 1922, the import of foreign clothes came to half. The sales cost went down from 102 crores to only 57 crore. The production of Indian textile mills and handloom increased due to boycott of foreign goods. Let us now discuss about the failure of the movement. Khadi was very expensive, therefore poor people could not afford to buy it. Indian institutions were setting up very slowly. Thus, people started joining the government institutions. The way the movement started in the town, similarly, it was also started in the countryside. Rebellion in the countryside. The struggle of peasants and tribals was spreading to the countryside. For example, in Awadh, the movement started because talukdars and landlords demanded high rents from the peasants and they had to work without payment on landlords' farms. They also had to do beggar. Similarly, in the Godam Hill of Andhra Pradesh, guerrilla movement spread because the colonial government was not allowing the hill people to graze their cattle in the forest, as well as they were not allowing them to collect fuel wood and fruits. Swaraj in the plantations. Workers in the plantation had to live and work under harsh conditions. They were confined within closed areas. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, tea plantation workers were rarely permitted to leave the gardens. Many workers left the plantation when they heard of the non-cooperation movement and interpreted Swaraj in their own ways. Towards civil disobedience. Since non-cooperation movement was turning violent at many places, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the movement in February 1922. Many leaders in Congress wanted to participate in the council elections set up under the Government of India Act 1990. The Swaraj Party was formed within the Congress by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru for a return to council politics. In the meantime, British government had constituted a statutory commission to look into the constitutional system of India in 1928 under the leadership of Sir John Simon. Since the commission did not have any Indian member, it was opposed by the Indians, and Simon Commission was greeted with the slogan of "Go Back Simon." Dominion status for India was announced by Lord Irwin in 1929 in order to win over the angry public against Simon Commission. At the same time, Purna Swaraj or full independence was demanded under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru for India. Our next topic is Salt March and civil disobedience movement. On 31st January 1930, 11 demands were sent to Viceroy Irwin by Gandhiji. In these, abolition of salt law was the most important demand. But Irwin was not negotiating on this issue. Therefore, Gandhiji decided to start his famous Salt March on 11th March from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. On 6th April, he reached Dandi and broke the law by manufacturing salt. Large number of people participated in the march along with him, thus making the movement a big success. This was the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. The movement continued in different parts of the country along with boycotting of foreign clothes, picketing of liquor shops. Many people were arrested during the movement, but with the arrest of Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Mahatma Gandhi, the movement turned violent. Thus, Gandhiji declared to call off the movement and signed a pact with Irwin on 5th March 1931, also called as Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now, let us discuss that how participants saw the movement. Many people of different social groups participated in the movement. The participants were the rich peasant communities, poor peasantry, industrialists and women. The rich peasant communities basically belonged to the countryside. With them, the poor peasantry also joined the movement. Apart from them, industrialists like Purushottam Das Thakur Das and G.D. Birla also supported civil disobedience movement by giving financial assistance. With them, women also participated in the movement to make it a successful movement. The limits of civil disobedience movement. Many social groups of Dalits and oppressed classes were not moved by the concept of Swaraj. They demanded separate electorate and reserved seats in educational institutions. The Depressed Classes Associations was organized by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in 1930, demanding separate electorate. In 1932, the Pune Pact was signed, which gave the depressed classes reserved seats but through votes in the election. The sense of collective belonging. It was only when the people started believing that there is same inner feeling among the people which is bonding them together and developing nationalism in them. Many factors are responsible for this, such as history and fiction, folklore and songs, popular prints and symbols. A nation is symbolized in a figure or image. Therefore, in the 20th century, India was also symbolized with the image of Bharat Mata. Bankim Chand Chattopadhyay created the first image as well as he wrote Vande Mataram in 1817 as a hymn to the motherland. Indian folklore also played an important role in developing nationalism among the people. A tricolor flag was also designed during the Swadeshi movement for inspiring people. The design of tricolor kept changing. Initially, it had 8 lotuses representing 8 provinces. Later on, Gandhiji had replaced it with spinning wheel in the center, carrying the flag in hand and marching across a feeling of nationalism among the people. Reinterpretation of history also created a feeling of nationalism. People started writing about their glorious developments in ancient times. All these efforts and movements tried to forge a national unity among the people of India.